All right, so unsolved mysteries, huh? If that's your thing, well, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be diving into a bunch of cases that are, they're going to really make you think. Yeah. Disappearances, weird events, all sorts of things that have just left people scratching their heads for years. Mm. And these aren't just your everyday cold cases, you know. Mm. We're talking about things that just seem to completely defy logic. More questions than answers.
Absolutely.
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
No.
Unsolved mysteries, I mean, they're fascinating. They really challenge, like, how much we think we understand the world.
Yeah.
You know? They just leave us with that feeling like, what if? What if there's more to the story, right?
Right.
I think it's just natural, you know? It's human nature to want to try to make sense of things, find an explanation.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's kick things off with a case that's been puzzling people for over a century. The vanishing train of 1911.
Ooh.
So for those who haven't heard of it, picture this. Italy, 1911. A fancy passenger train goes into a tunnel and poof, it's gone. Never seen again. No wreckage, new passengers, nothing. Just vanished.
And it's not like this was just some old rickety train.
Right.
This was a brand new state-of-the-art thing.
Yeah.
Super modern, which just makes it even weirder, right?
Totally.
And you got to remember, this was when train travel was still kind of new, and people were already nervous about all this new technology.
Yeah.
So can you imagine what people must have thought when this thing, this symbol of progress, just disappeared?
Yeah, like the train itself was the monster.
Right.
So you've got some folks saying it was a landslide, others saying maybe it was deliberately derailed, even some conspiracy theories about a government cover-up.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the wilder theories, you know, portals to other dimensions.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of see why those would pop up.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What makes a mystery like this stick around for so long? Is it just because we don't have answers, or is there something more?
It's probably a bit of both, I think. No clear explanation, plus the fact that it happened so suddenly and completely. I mean, the whole train just gone.
Yeah.
And there's something about a train, you know? It's supposed to connect places and people.
Yeah.
And then for it to just cease to exist like that.
It's like a glitch in reality. And like you said, people were already on edge about new technology back then. Mm. It's almost like that fear of the unknown kind of fueled those more out there theories, you know?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Like, oh no, what if this new technology is actually dangerous?
Exactly. Like some kind of like cultural Rorschach test or something, revealing our fears.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, let's move on to a case that's really, it's shrouded in both tragedy and mystery.
Okay.
The disappearance of the Sauter children in 1945. So on Christmas Eve, a fire breaks out at the Sauter family home in West Virginia. 5 of their 10 children, they make it out, but the other 5, gone.
Oh, wow.
No trace, no remains. Just gone.
This one really gets to me. I mean, can you imagine a parent's worst fear, losing a child, and then to have it happen like this with no answers? It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's the lack of remains that gets me. If it was just a fire, wouldn't there be something left? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't. And then you've got some specific details in this case that make it even creepier.
Like what?
Well, there's a witness who claims they saw the kids in a car later that night.
Really?
Yeah. And get this, years later, the Sauters, they get a photo in the mail. Could be one of their missing sons as an adult.
Oh, come on. That's just too much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So was it a kidnapping disguised as a fire? Did someone use the chaos to take the kids? And the fact that it was Christmas Eve, it adds this whole other layer to it.
Yeah, it's like Christmas is supposed to be about family, and then this, it's just wrong.
Right, like something out of a twisted fairy tale. But just like the train, with the Sauter case, the lack of a clear answer is what keeps people talking, speculating.
It keeps mystery alive.
Totally. Okay, so speaking of baffling disappearances, the case of the Yuba County 5 has a similar vibe, but with its own strange twists.
Okay, tell me more.
So in 1975, 5 friends vanish on their way to a basketball game. They find their car miles away from this remote cabin, and eventually, some of the remains turn up at the cabin.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The car was found miles from the cabin, but the engine was still running.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
It's like something out of the X-Files. Like what?
Yeah.
And it's those details that just don't add up that make this so interesting.
Totally.
So the car was stuck in neutral, but the engine was running. And there was tons of food in the cabin, but none of it had been touched. Why would they go to such a remote place? Did they know someone there?
No.
Or were they taken there against their will?
So many questions. It's like you're trying to put a puzzle together, but half the pieces are missing.
Yeah, exactly. And the pieces you do have don't even seem to fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that feeling like something's just off. Do you think that's what pulls people in?
Oh, definitely. Our brains, like, they want to make sense of things, they look for patterns, and when we can't find them, it just makes the mystery even deeper.
Okay, now for a case where the location itself adds to the mystery.
Okay.
The enigmatic death of Elisa Lam in 2013.
I've heard of this one.
Have you? Okay, so Elisa Lam is found dead in a water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. And the circumstances around her death are just strange.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah. And the Cecil Hotel already has this creepy reputation, right? Lots of deaths, suicides, and even connections to serial killers.
Yeah, it's like the hotel itself is part of the mystery. But I think it's important to remember that the hotel's history, it shouldn't overshadow the need for a good, solid investigation. You know, one that focuses on the facts.
Oh, for sure. Context is everything. But you can't deny that it adds to the creepiness, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things people always talk about with this case is the elevator footage of Elisa Lam before she disappeared.
Oh.
She's acting really strangely, pressing all the buttons, hiding in the corners. It's really bizarre.
It is.
So was she on something? Was it a mental health episode? Or was there something else going on?
It's so easy to overanalyze things like that, you know, especially when we see it out of context.
Yeah.
What seems strange to us might have a perfectly normal explanation. We have to be careful not to jump to conclusions.
True. True. It's a good reminder to stick to the facts as much as we can. All right, let's switch gears a bit and talk about a mystery that's, well, it's more legend than hard evidence. The phantom town of Horror. So picture a remote village in Europe, poof, gone overnight in 1936.
Like the whole town.
Yeah, no trace, no explanation, just vanished.
That's crazy.
It is, right. And the thing about Horror is, the story really relies on people's memories. There are travelers who say they were there right before it supposedly vanished. They describe the houses, the people, everything. But there's not a lot of solid evidence to back it up.
So is it a case of people just remembering things wrong? Or was it all made up? Or could it be something truly unexplained? It's hard to say without more evidence.
Yeah, it really makes you think about what's real and what's not, doesn't it? It's like, how much can we trust our own memories and the memories of others?
Exactly. And it makes you realize that there might be things out there that we'll never fully understand.
Which brings us to our listener theories.
I love this part.
Right. So we got some really interesting theories from you guys about these cases. And some of you are like, seriously good detectives.
Some people have some great insights. It's always fun to see how these mysteries spark people's imaginations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if a theory doesn't solve the case, it can still help us look at the evidence in a new way.
For sure. Fresh perspectives are always helpful.
Totally. So, for example, one listener sent into the theory about the Somerton Man case.
Okay, remind me about that one.
Right, so the Somerton Man, he was found dead on a beach in Australia in 1948. No ID, no clear cause of death. And they found a scrap of paper in his pocket with the phrase, "Tamam should" on it.
Tamam shid. That's,
It means ended or finished.
Oh, right.
And they actually found the book the phrase was torn from, but it just made the mystery deeper.
Deeper how?
Well, it turns out the Somerton Man also had a secret pocket sewn into his trousers.
Wait, a secret pocket. What was in it?
A coded message.
Coded message?
And no one's been able to crack it. So you've got theories about espionage, Cold War stuff, maybe even a love affair gone wrong. I mean, anything's possible.
Wow. And they never figured out who he was?
Nope. Never identified.
So they're trying to solve this puzzle without even knowing who the guy was?
Exactly. It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle without the picture on the box.
Right.
But this listener, they pointed out something I hadn't even thought of.
What's that?
What if the code wasn't meant to be broken?
Hmm.
Like, what if it was a distraction?
A distraction from what?
That's the question, isn't it? Like, they wanted everyone focused on the code, but it was all a big red herring.
Interesting. So what were they hiding by making us focus on the code?
Right. Makes you think.
Mhm.
And it shows how when you don't know who someone is, even the smallest details can seem important. We don't know anything about this guy, his life, his motivations, anything.
So we fill in the blanks ourselves.
Exactly. Like a collective writing prompt, everyone coming up with their own theories.
That's a good way to put it.
Speaking of theories, another listener had a really interesting take on the vanishing train.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
They suggested mass hypnosis.
Mass hypnosis.
Yeah. Or some kind of psychological manipulation.
Whoa. That's a new one. So, like, some messed with everyone's minds.
Right. Like, what if what we think we saw or remember isn't even real?
That's kind of freaky.
I know, right? It makes you question everything.
It does. Like, what if reality isn't as solid as we think it is?
Exactly. It reminds us that sometimes the most logical explanation, it might not be the right one.
Yeah. And that's what I love about these unsolved mysteries. They make you question everything.
Totally. But sometimes it's not just the mystery itself that's so captivating. It's the impact it has on the people involved, the community.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's especially true when you look at unsolved crimes that happen in small towns.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like the Ketty Cabin murders in 1981, it shows just how much these crimes can affect a whole community.
Right, the Ketty Cabin murder. So for those who don't know, this was a brutal attack on a family in a cabin in California.
Awful.
Yeah. There's evidence, there are suspects, but no one was ever convicted.
And it's still unsolved.
It's still unsolved.
Wow.
And it's not like this was a big city where things can get lost in the shuffle. This is a small town where everyone knows each other, and suddenly everything changes. Their sense of safety is just shattered.
Yeah, it's like a whole town loses its innocence.
Exactly. And with no answers, the rumors and suspicion, they just keep going. It can go on for generations.
Leaving these deep scars.
Yeah. It's like an invisible ripple effect that spreads out from the victims and their families. It becomes part of the town's history, like a ghost story that just hangs over everything.
And the lack of closure makes it even worse.
Yeah. When a crime goes unsolved, it leaves this hole, this feeling that something's unfinished.
Like a wound that never heals.
Exactly. It's a reminder that these mysteries aren't just stories. They have real consequences for real people. They remind us how fragile life is, how complicated people can be, and how much we still don't know about the world.
And it's that we don't know everything that keeps us coming back to these mysteries. We want to know. We need to make sense of things.
It's that human need to find meaning, even in the face of the unknown. And even when we can't find all the answers, I think there's something valuable in the searching itself.
Absolutely. It's about keeping that curiosity alive, about never giving up on the pursuit of truth. Even if it's just a tiny bit of understanding, it can make a difference.
I completely agree. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to dig even deeper into these mysteries and explore some more listener theories. Stay tuned.
Can't wait. It's like we're wired that way, right? To look for patterns and explanations.
Yeah. Like even when things are totally crazy, we still want to find some kind of story, some way to make sense of it all.
Exactly. And sometimes these mysteries stick around not just because of missing evidence, but also because the system is messed up.
Right, like not enough resources or maybe even corruption getting in the way of finding the truth.
Exactly. Like, think about cases where evidence is messed with or witnesses get scared into silence.
Yeah, that makes things so much harder. It's not just about finding clues. It's about dealing with a system that might be working against you.
Right. And that adds a whole other layer to everything.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It shows that finding justice isn't always easy, There can be roadblocks, and sometimes those roadblocks are put there on purpose. It makes you think. But even in those cases, I think it's still important to go back and look at these mysteries.
Oh, absolutely.
To see if maybe there's something new we can find, some new technology or technique that could help.
Yeah, like forensic science is always improving, DNA analysis, even social media can be a tool now.
Right? Who would have thought?
I know.
Yeah.
And all of that could help shed new light on these old cases. Maybe find some clues that were missed before. Give some hope to families who've been waiting for answers for so long.
Yeah, it's like technology is giving us a second chance to get it right. It's like saying, we're not giving up, even when it seems impossible. We owe it to the victims to keep looking.
Absolutely. We owe it to ourselves, too. Because even when we don't find all the answers, there's still something to be gained from investigating.
Oh, for sure. Like exploring all the different possibilities, challenging what we think we know, looking at the evidence carefully. It helps us think more critically, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like a workout for your brain. It helps you see things from different angles and makes you more aware of your own biases.
Yeah, and those skills are super important these days, especially with all the misinformation out there.
Right. There's just so much information coming at us all the time, it's hard to know what to believe.
I know. It's easy to fall for something just because it fits with what we already think.
Yeah.
But these unsolved mysteries, they can kind of help us with that, I think.
Oh, how so?
Well, they teach us to question things, to look at the evidence, and not just jump to conclusions.
That's a great point. It's like a real-life lesson in critical thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a crash course in how to tell fact from fiction, but way more interesting than a textbook, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who doesn't love a good mystery?
Right. And those skills, they're useful in any part of life. Being able to tell what's true, to see through the lies, that's so important.
It really is, especially these days. Information is power, as they say.
It's like we're building a mental toolkit. Every mystery we solve, every theory we explore, adds a new tool to the belt.
I like that analogy. It's about learning to question, to analyze, to figure things out for yourself.
And to never take anything at face value.
Exactly.
So it's a journey of discovery, for sure.
Absolutely.
Not just about the mysteries themselves, but also about ourselves, our own minds, and how we think. So as we keep going with our deep dive here, let's keep that in mind. These cases, they're not just entertainment. They're opportunities to learn and to grow, to make our minds sharper. They make us think differently, to question everything.
And to embrace all the weirdness and complexity of the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle, but we don't even know what the picture is supposed to be.
Yeah. And with each turn, with each new piece of information, we discover something new about ourselves, about how we see the world.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. It's what makes these deep dives into unsolved mysteries so much more than just a bunch of weird stories. It's about our curiosity, our desire to figure things out, that fascination with the stuff we just can't explain.
Totally. And it's a good reminder that even now, even with all the information we have at our fingertips, there are still things we don't know. Mysteries that just don't have easy answers. Questions that stick with us. It's humbling, isn't it?
It is. It makes you realize how much is still out there, you know? All the things we haven't discovered yet, the things we might never understand. But that's what keeps us searching, right?
Yeah, I think so. That sense of wonder, like knowing that there's so much we don't know, it just makes us want to learn more.
Exactly. And even when we don't find all the answers, the search itself is still important. It makes us confront what we don't know, makes us question everything, even ourselves.
Yeah, like a kind of intellectual humility. Recognizing that we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And sometimes that search can lead us to some pretty unexpected places, right? We start looking for one thing and end up finding connections to all sorts of other things.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the different things we've talked about with these cases, right? Technology, people's fears, how our memories can be messed up, even problems with the justice system. It all ties together.
It's like we're weaving together a story about the unknown, exploring all the edges of what we think we understand and bumping up against those things we might never fully grasp.
Yeah, it's a challenge, for sure.
But it's also a reminder that we're all part of this, you know?
Part of what?
This search for meaning, for truth, for some kind of understanding.
We are, yeah. We're all in this together.
And that's what connects us, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Our shared curiosity, it's what brings us all here. Whether we're professional detectives or just people who love a good mystery, we all want to know the answers.
It's that possibility, you know?
Yeah.
That maybe, just maybe, we can figure it out. It keeps us going.
It does.
Keeps us searching, keeps us thinking.
And that's what matters, right? That we keep engaging with these mysteries, that we don't just sit back and passively listen.
Yeah, it's about getting involved, you know, coming up with our own ideas, our own theories.
And realizing that even the most confusing mysteries can teach us something.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up our deep dive here, remember, this isn't the end. There are still questions out there, mysteries waiting to be solved.
So many.
Keep asking questions, keep digging, keep that sense of wonder alive.
Don't let it go.
Because that curiosity, that need to understand, that's what makes us human. And who knows, maybe one of you listening will be the one to finally solve one of these mysteries that's been stumping everyone for years.
That would be amazing.
It would be. But until then, keep those theories coming, folks.
Yeah.
Stay curious and stay skeptical.
That's the key.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into unsolved mysteries. We'll see you next time.